Good evening, everyone. I think it's in order for us to start. My name is Dr. Wairimo. I am a physician by training, and I'm the co-convener of the KMA Public Health Committee. I'm also today's moderator, and I'm very delighted to welcome you all to this CME webinar. And our discussion for today is going to be on youth at risk, confronting the menace of harmful emerging tobacco and nicotine products. This discussion is in support of the 2023 World No Tobacco Day, and this year celebrations in Kenya were held in Migori County. Tobacco consumption unfortunately continues to be a global health challenge, and it causes millions of deaths each year, posing significant public health burden on the public healthcare systems. And despite us witnessing a decline in tobacco use in other regions across the globe, we are witnessing an alarming increase within the African continent. So this evening, we aim to raise awareness on the harmful effects of emerging tobacco products among the youth. We hope to champion wellness and advocate for positive change, and to take steps towards a healthier future for our younger population. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box, and we'll be sure to address them once the plenary session is over. That said, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Mr. Anthony Muthemba is an experienced public health officer and head of the Nairobi City County Tobacco Control Unit. He holds a master's degree in public health from Sefako Makgado Health Sciences University in South Africa. And he also holds a bachelor's degree in sociology and physiology from the University of Nairobi. He has additional backgrounds in policy and legislation development, public prosecutions, and tobacco industry interference monitoring. He's skilled in law enforcement, report writing, legislation, public policy, and public health, and is currently working with the Nairobi City County government. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Muthemba. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Dr. Wairimo. I feel privileged to be part of this discussion, and look forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Asante sana. Please feel free to start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. I think at this point I'll just go straight to my presentation. My discussion will be based more on presentation. So kindly, if allow me, I can proceed with my slides. Okay, there we are. So I'll be a little bit fast, and for any questions or clarifications, anything that I will be banning, I'm flexible to pose. Otherwise, I can take questions at the end of my presentation. So we'll be looking at the problem of novel and emerging nicotine and tobacco products, which are popularly known as NNTPs. We'll be looking at just some background of the tobacco problem in Kenya and the associated statistics, just to show us where we are and where we are moving to, and probably the strategies that need to be taken, and most importantly, in relation to the current products that are in the Kenyan market, which have moved from the conventional cigarette or the conventional tobacco that we grew up knowing into the modern tobacco products. So we want to look at the statistics. This one will be so fast. Tobacco use prevalence at the moment among the Kenyan population is at 11.6%, whereby we have the highest proportion of men at 19.1%, and of women 4.5%. This is according to the GATS report, that is the Global Adult Tobacco Survey report, fact sheet on Kenya 2014. So the last survey was done in 2014 in regards to GATS. When we look at the students, we have 9.9 students who are using tobacco products, and among these, 12.8% are boys and 6.7 are girls. So, and this also is according to the GYTS. This is the Global Youth Tobacco Survey report, which was last done in 2013. So, when we look at this red part, this is the most interesting part. So, these statistics, they are meant to rise with the deceptive marketing strategies and technology in tobacco product engineering employed by the tobacco industry. So we'll realize that over the years, the tobacco industry has re-engineered the product, the traditional tobacco product, which is the cigarette, or also known as a conventional cigarette, into other products that are changing with time. They're so dynamic, so as to appeal to the market needs, and also to target on the youth and other vulnerable groups. So among the in the GYTS report of 2013, it did indicate that 23.8% of never tobacco users are susceptible to tobacco use in the future. So from 2013, we are now in 2023. Those are 10 good years. So the future that was predicted back then, we are in that future now. Let's see what's happening now. So at the moment in Kenya, we have tobacco control legislation and policies. This is the framework of tobacco control. And our legal framework is basically drawn from the WHO FCTC, that is the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. This is the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. This is WHO treaty, which came into force in 2005, and it was negotiated and agreed on in 2003. It's the most, or rather the highly embraced UN treaty. So the member parties that signed and ratified this treaty are supposed to domesticate the law, to domesticate the laws and the regulations into their respective countries. And in that regard, Kenya came up with the Tobacco Control Act of 2007. The Tobacco Control Act, after the Tobacco Control Act, we came up with the Tobacco Control Regulations. And the Tobacco Control Act, the basic tenets of the Tobacco Control Act is to control the production, manufacture, the sale, the promotion, and of tobacco products, and also to provide for the Tobacco Control Board, among other provisions, which we'll be looking at briefly as we move on. So after the Tobacco Control Act, which came into force in 2007, then there was a grace period whereby there was a 9-month grace period for it to be to come into force as one of the Kenyan laws. Since then, the Tobacco Control Act has been enforced. Then after that, around 2014, we came up with the Tobacco Control Regulations, which now provided further for the implementation of the Tobacco Control Act. And among the notable aspects of the Tobacco Control Regulations are the provision of the graphical health warnings, whereby this goes in line with one of the aspects of the WHO Empower, which we'll be looking into. Then after that, in 2017, on 28th of December, Kenya banned shisha, and legal notice number 292 of Kenya Gazette supplement number 188. Around 2010, we came up with the Tobacco Control Action Plan, which was running from 2010 to 2015. After that, we came up with the National Tobacco Control Strategic Plan 2019-2023. After that, probably, I think we need to be chatting way forward or coming up with another strategic plan to take us further. And what you'll notice is that, and when you look at the strategic plan currently, it's kind of a little bit vague when it comes to the NNTPs, which have gained acceleration in the recent past. So, what is the problem of these emerging tobacco products in Kenya? The problem of emerging tobacco and nicotine products, these products are aggressively marketed or promoted as cleaner alternatives to conventional cigarettes, or as smoking cessation aids, or as reduced risk products. That's according to the tobacco industry. These products have proliferated in several markets around the globe and present a unique challenge to regulators. We'll be looking at how us in enforcement are facing the challenges of these NNTPs. So when some of these products have lower emissions than conventional cigarettes, they are not risk-free. This is according to the WHO report on the global tobacco epidemic 2019. So the WHO report on the global tobacco epidemic. So the WHO report on global tobacco epidemic is normally released biannually. So the latest one that we are dealing with is the one for 2021. And it talked about addressing new and emerging products. In the eighth, addressing new and emerging products is the eighth in a series of WHO reports that tracks the status of the tobacco epidemic and interventions to combat it. So let us look at these products. When you're talking about NNTPs, what exactly do we mean? How different are they from the conventional cigarette? How has the journey been? So here we have the conventional cigarettes, which we call the CC, which basically is tobacco, is shredded tobacco, rolled in a cigarette paper and provided with a filter. But when you look at the engineering of the cigarette as it is sophisticated in a way that one, tobacco is very, very harsh when you consume it. It's very, very unpalatable in its natural state. And so this product is a little bit modified to appeal to the senses. So the tobacco that is shredded and rolled up has been modified. And in that modification, there's addition of other chemicals. So when we talk about more than 4,000 carcinogenic products, they are in the processed tobacco. But it doesn't mean that the traditional tobacco, which is not highly processed in the industry, is harmless. No. Because the basic component of harm in a smoked tobacco is the tar. And now about these other chemicals that are put in, because they put chemicals to modify the burning. The burning is regulated, and of course to make it palatable. So the industry moved from the conventional cigarette and came up with other products. So the products that we'll be looking at are this kind of products. On my left, we have the e-cigarettes. We'll be looking at the e-cigarettes. We have the N's single N, and we have the N's double N, which are basically the vape pens. So we need to be keen to differentiate e-cigarettes and the vape pens. Then we have the HTPs, better known as heated tobacco products. So what happens with these HTPs? Basically, instead of igniting, whereby this kind of a tobacco product, the conventional cigarette, before consuming it, it has to be ignited. So the HTPs, instead of igniting them, they are heated. So it has an atomizer, okay, that heats the tobacco product. Then we have the MOPs. The MOPs are modern oral products, whereby in this category, we have two main products. That is the nicotine pouches and another product called snus. So we'll be looking at the difference between the two. Then we have water pipes and chewable tobacco. So from the water pipes also, there is a deception. And when we're talking about water pipes, we're basically talking about shisha or hookah. And the deception here is that when this product is heated, shisha flavor is shisha is basically tobacco product. It's basically tobacco, molasses, and glycerin, okay, just to make it moist. And there's also addition of chemicals. So when we're talking about the flavors, let's say talk about melon flavor, mint flavor, strawberry. those flavors are synthetic flavors. So those are chemicals. And that's why it's normally said that a single shisha session is approximately to smoking 100 cigarettes. Because we find that the toxicity that is in those chemicals, the chemical flavorings, or rather the inorganic flavorings, is so high, which amounts to smoking like 100 pieces of cigarettes. So let's move on. Let us look at the e-cigarettes. So e-cigarettes are devices that look similar to conventional cigarettes. So these products were produced sometimes some years back. We're talking about 15 years back. And basically the tobacco industry was trying to move away from the smoked product, or rather the product that was highly inhibited in terms of smoking, because when you look at the consumption of the conventional cigarette, it produces smoke when somebody is smoking. But now the e-cigarette was designed in a way that it was smoke-free. And the basic concept was just to make it more appealing and to make it usable in even restricted areas that were non-smoking areas, including using them in the aircraft. And these products back then, they were held at very high prestige, because when you buy that product, the starter pack came with the e-cig itself. It came with a charger, and it also came with that green card. There's a card they used to call a green card. So wherever a place was prohibited from, it was a no smoking area, you could easily smoke this product, because you could just only flash the green card. Okay, so and that's the exception that that it's a green product, which is environmental friendly. Fine, but the harm that it's causing to the user was still the same. So let us look at the vape pen, the most recent and the most common product. So vape pen, on the other hand, these are devices that will consist of a rechargeable battery and refillable tank. Lately, they're designed for one-way use. That means no refill, no recharge, and are generally flavored. So the e-cigs, what they have is a nicotine, which is non-flavored. Okay, and the vape pens are basically flavored. Let us look at some other more differentiating parameters. The e-cigarette, when we say it basically looks like a cigarette, this is how it is. It was modeled. So this part here, the white part, consists of the battery. The battery is somewhere below here. Then there's this part, which is an atomizer. Then there's this part, which looks like a cigarette filter. Basically, this product, when it is being in use, when somebody is inhaling, it's just like a normal cigarette, because this tip here, it normally lights red, it glows red. So the concept here is this cartridge, okay, contains nicotine. Nicotine, which is organic. It is this purely organic nicotine. So when somebody smokes, the battery atomizes that nicotine, and then it causes an aerosol. So let us look at the main difference between the vapes and the e-cigarettes. So the vape of some past years used to look like this, whereby you have the battery, which is rechargeable. This part, there's a switch here. There's a built-in atomizer, and this is the e-liquid tank. Okay, and this is the mouthpiece. So the same concept, but this product is basically nicotine, which is extracted from the tobacco leaf, and is normally mixed, or rather, back then you could find pure nicotine liquid separate from the syrup. Okay, some flavored syrup. So it used to be mixed and put in this tank, then it is inhaled. So let us look at the ends, the single end and the double end. So ends are electronic nicotine delivery systems. These are devices that heat a liquid to create an aerosol that is inhaled by the user. The liquid contains nicotine but not tobacco. So what does this phrase mean? It simply means that this product is an extension product of the tobacco leaf, because what they do, or rather what the industry does, it extracts nicotine from the tobacco leaf, which is now liquefied. Then that liquid is flavored, okay? And the flavoring is what they normally add are the inorganic chemicals to just to make it palatable. So ends should be strictly regulated for maximum protection of public health. This is according to the WHO report on the global tobacco epidemic of 2021. Then we have the ENS double N electronic non-nicotine delivery system. So basically, these devices, what they have a liquid, but that liquid does not have nicotine. It is just a flavored substance. So you may ask yourself, why just have a flavored substance? So this is another marketing gimmick and tactic by the tobacco industry just to get people hooked. Because what happens is that you'll find the youth consuming this non-nicotine product, but at the end of the day, they'll just get influenced. Why smoke this thing that has no effect? And so they easily switch to the ends that have nicotine. So it's just a deceptive way of luring the youth and other vulnerable groups into using the highly addictive nicotine. So examples of these ends are vape pens, both disposable, which are integral. The disposable ones have the liquid inside and the battery inside and are meant for single use. So once the nicotine is diminished, you just dispose it off. Then you have another type that is non-disposable. These ones have become so rare nowadays. I mean, the migration from the refillable ones to non-refillable ones. So they are rarely in the market. So children and adolescents who use ends can double their risk of smoking cigarettes. This according to the WHO report on the global tobacco epidemic of 2021. And there are researches, there are journals which have documented that despite the industry drumming up that the use of electronic cigarettes or the use of electronic nicotine delivery systems helps someone to quit, there is there is indication that these products lead to dual usage, because you find that somebody who is using these e-cigarettes or the vape, they are also using the conventional cigarettes. Let us look at the HTPs, the heated tobacco products. The HTPs are tobacco products that produce aerosols containing nicotine and toxic chemicals upon heating of the tobacco or activation of a device containing the tobacco. So the HTPs, what they do, they contain tobacco, whereby the electronic cigarettes or the vapes contain nicotine. So these ones have tobacco, and that tobacco, how does it work? This is how it normally works. And the most common brand names are IQOS. IQOS is associated with PMI, that is Philip Morris International. So what happens with the HTPs? These are heat processed tobacco leaf products or devices, allowing users to inhale nicotine into their lungs. So this is what happens. The substance inside here is a tobacco product. So this tobacco product is heated. Once it is heated, it at the far end, the user is able now to inhale the nicotine from the heated tobacco. These products, as we've seen, the difference is that they have the tobacco as as the substance, and the others, that is the vape and the e-cigarettes, they have the nicotine liquid. So let's move on. We find another category of MOPs. These are modern oral products, whereby we have the nicotine pouches and snus. Among these products, the most commonly known in the Kenyan market is Lift, and we moved from Lift. Now what is available in the market is Velo. But these two products are from the same manufacturer. So then we have another product which is called snus. We'll be looking at the difference between nicotine pouches and snus. So how are these products are consumed? These products are consumed via the buccal mucosa route, whereby the user places the sachet between either the upper gum or lower gum, in between the gum and the lip. So what happens is that this product, when it comes into contact with the saliva, it's rapidly absorbed into the body, and it normally has the effect of nicotine. But now, in this sense, is that it's quite fast. Its action is so fast, and as much as it's so fast, it's kind of short-lived. So the use of this product will end up actually being more dependent on this product than the normal cigarette, which means that this product is not an alternative to smoking. Let us do a quick comparison between nicotine pouches and snus. So nicotine pouches are tobacco-free, so which means that the product has nicotine, which has been extracted from the tobacco leaf. So they are tobacco-free, nicotine extracted from the tobacco leaf, or synthetic nicotine. We find that there are various forms of nicotine. We have organic nicotine and inorganic nicotine. But in this case, the product that the industry normally uses is the organic nicotine. So according to the tests that have been done, it shows that the nicotine pouches, especially the ones in the Kenyan market, are from organic nicotine. So nicotine pouches are white pre-portioned pouches containing either tobacco derived derived nicotine or synthetic nicotine, but not tobacco leaf, dust, or stem. So around the year 2020, when we had a heated debate about lift, form of nicotine pouches, what happened is that the cabinet secretary back then in charge of health classified nicotine as classified a lift of the nicotine pouches as tobacco products, because when you look at the description, or rather the definition of a tobacco product according to the Tobacco Control Act, it is a product that contains that contains either whole or in part of tobacco leaf or any extract from the tobacco leaf. So the extract of interest here is the nicotine liquid. So then we have snus. Snus is a tobacco based. So snus is a moist oral smokeless tobacco product which is placed behind the upper lip, either loose or in portion sachets, which resemble miniature tea bags. Same concept as the nicotine pouches. It is air-cured tobacco in ground mixed with salt and water. It normally comes in very small granules, and which is mixed with water and some salts, just to make it a little bit moist. So when you look at snus and nicotine pouch, snus appears to be moist, and when you're using snus, there's a lot of somebody who is using snus keeps on extracting a lot of saliva. They keep on spitting out the saliva. But somebody who is using nicotine pouches, they swallow the saliva. Let us look at the water pipes or hookah, also known as shisha. This is a single or multi-stemmed instrument for vaporizing and smoking flavored cannabis, tobacco, or sometimes opium, whose vapor or smoke is passed through water basin, often glass-based, or before inhalation. So this product is banned in the Kenyan market, and among the rationale that was used back then to ban shisha was basically also that shisha was being used as a way of camouflaging use of narcotic drugs in public, among other health issues that were based on. So let us look at the chewing tobacco. Chewing tobacco, the most popular one is what we call Kuber, but Kuber is a brand name. Okay, so in that category, we have other brand names. So this is a type of a smokeless tobacco product consumed by placing a portion of the tobacco between the cheek and gum or upper lip, teeth, and chewing. Unlike dipping tobacco, it is not ground and must be manually crushed with the teeth to release flavor and nicotine. So the unwanted juices are then expectorated or spat out. So why do we need to regulate these products? So these products are highly engineered products, which are addictive, toxic, attractive, flavored, and contain nicotine and other chemicals which are harmful to the body and which are carcinogenic. Then also the long-term effects are still unknown, but research has shown that they are not risk-free. So basically, the people who are using these products now, we don't know what will happen to them in the next 5, 10, 15, or 20 years to come. So as much as the research is going on, still these products are harmful. So there are threats to public health and affect users, the constituents and emissions have known health effects which are carcinogenic and harmful to the lungs. There's also unproven industry claims whereby we have concerns for consumer protection. So some of these products are marketed as reduced harm or as nicotine quitting aids. So sometime back when nicotine pouches were being introduced in the Kenyan market, they were touted as NRTs. Okay, and as much as they were touted as NRTs, that is the nicotine replacement therapy, and we know that NRTs are supposed to be sold in a pharmacy and under prescription. And far from that, these products were being sold everywhere, even in tuck shops near schools. Okay, so the market is the tobacco industry is quite deceptive in terms of marketing and promotion of these products. And again, you'll ask yourself, why would a certain manufacturer produce another product to counter one of their products? So it's all deception, and as much as people get hooked to these other products, the new products unknowingly, they still revert back to the conventional tobacco. Then there's the marketing is targeted at the youth and other vulnerable groups. There's the use of the deceptive slogans, which are seen as smoke-free. A good example is the e-cigarettes. Then we have the tuck and go. This is a slogan that is normally written on nicotine pouches or snus. Then these products are quite portable. Look at the transition from the old type of vape to the modern ones. We have modern vape pens which look like they'll pass for lipstick, they look like marker pens, they look like flash discs. They've been engineered to be so portable and so appealing. Then there are, of course, flavoring. When you're talking about flavoring, it's just to make this nicotine palatable, and the range of the flavoring is quite wide. I mean, it's like whatever flavor somebody wants, they'll get that flavor. So WHO recommendation on HTPs, they're subject to policy and regulatory measures applied to all other tobacco products. So what are the challenges of these novel and emerging nicotine and tobacco products in enforcement? So we've been faced by global trends in the reinvention of tobacco products by the tobacco industry. And all these products that we have in the Kenyan territory are imported products. There's no single product that is manufactured here other than the conventional cigarette. So these products are coming from the global space. And as we know that the youth and other groups of persons, they are more inclined to imported products. So it becomes quite appealing to these groups. Then the promotion and marketing of the NNTPs are under deceptive testimonials, which we've seen as tobacco-free, use on the go, tuck and go, smokeless, and also marketed as reduced harm or nicotine quitting aid. Then we have this, the elephant in the room, social media marketing. So when you look at the social media space, there's a lot of these products that are being marketed, the nicotine pouches, the vape, and all these other array of novel and emerging products. But the biggest challenge is that tracking down these social media handle owners is quite a challenge to the enforcement team, whereby it's very hard to like associate a certain social media account to a certain individual. But we are trying to address this issue with the Communications Authority of Kenya and see how to go about it. Then we have entry into the country is through the entry of these products through the porous boundaries and as undeclared goods or misdeclaration. So you'll find that some of these products will pass through the gazetted ports of entry, but the importers of these products will misdeclare or underdeclare. So misdeclaration comes as somebody will say these are confectionaries, these are food grade flavors, and this is quite a problem that we have with the ports of entry officers who lack the knowledge on the existing legal framework and knowledge of these products. So you'll find out that at every port of entry, we have the officers who have to be there. That is the customs officers, the standards officers, that is KEBS, and public health officers, and of course the National Police Service. So lack of the knowledge and the existing legal framework by ports of entry officers, that is the PHOs, the customs and quality and standard inspectors. Then there's the lack of product, content and constituents testing capacity in the local laboratories. You find that some of these products, when you look at, let's say, vape products, you'll see they have disclosed nicotine and other chemicals. So what are these other chemicals? We need to know what are these other chemicals. Have these chemicals been listed as a food grade or safe for human use? But we don't have that capacity. Our local laboratories don't have that capacity for testing. And again, when somebody says that a certain tobacco product X, has like 5% nicotine, how do we verify that? We lack that capacity. However, in that respect, the WHO is working with the local laboratories, that is the government chemists, the National Public Health Laboratories, and the National Quality Control Laboratories, NQCL, just to build their capacity in terms of product testing. When we're talking about testing, we're talking about content and constituent, which are two different parameters. Because when you're talking about the content, we want to know what are the levels. We're talking about the constituents. We want to know what is the category of the products, A, B, C, D, like that. Then we have the tobacco industry interference with policy implementation and enforcement. This is a very interesting perspective, and you'll realize that we have a very good legal framework in Kenya to deal with tobacco products. But again, what are the challenges that we're facing in implementation? And among the challenges that we're facing in this implementation is the tobacco industry. And that is why the WHO FCTC Article 5.3 calls upon the member states to safeguard public health policies from vested interests from the tobacco industry. And when you look at, let's say, the policy process, when you look at the policy process and the tobacco industry will always look at ways of watering down the efforts, the government efforts, and the tactics that the industry use, which we normally call the 4Ds, is during any policy process, the tobacco industry, either directly or indirectly, will try to dilute the policy. You come up with drafts, they'll use people to come and dilute that the bills to derail the process, either and also to delay the process, or ultimately to destroy the whole policy process. We also have instances where the tobacco industry lobbies for special exemptions. Special exemptions, in this case, we're looking at some time back, Tobacco Industry X, which is a manufacturer of nicotine pouches. These guys were calling for tax holiday. I mean, we want to produce this product, but we don't want to pay taxes. And again, on that line, there's also economic exaggeration. The same tobacco industry was talking about having built a 2.5 billion production plant, which in essence, we don't have that kind of plant that they came up with. So there's that issue of economic exaggeration, just to try and show the government that, hey, we are contributing on the GDP of the economy. But when you look at the deeper arithmetics, I mean, whereby if a government is let's say in our scenario where the government is earning 3 shillings, I mean 1 shilling from taxation of this product, the government is using 3 shillings in mopping up the effects of this product. So at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense at all. And these products need just to be highly regulated and to be made as expensive as possible, just to make sure that they are no longer in, or rather, they're just minimal in our Kenyan space. And just to close up my presentation, I always like this quote from Albert Einstein, whereby it says that the world is not dangerous because of those who do harm, but because of those who look at it without doing anything. So, and I feel that as tobacco control advocates, in our respective capacities, because when you look at the tobacco control space, tobacco control is multifaceted and multisectoral. We really have a task to safeguard our youth and our future generation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Muthemba, for that enlightening talk. I think we've all learned a lot. We already have quite a number of questions coming in for you, but we'll address those during the Q&A session. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to invite our second speaker. Our second speaker is Mr. Fred Ochieng. He's a tobacco control advocate and a male agent of change. He's also a counseling psychologist in training and is very passionate about motivating and inspiring individuals to push beyond their limitations and to identify their true potential. He's dedicated to serving others and has promoted significant positive changes among individuals and among communities through compassion-empowered advocacy. He also volunteers at the Den of Hope Youth Group, which has been very instrumental in advancing the youth agenda on tobacco control. So I'd like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Ochieng. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Daktari. And let me congratulate the first speaker. I hope you can all hear me. Good evening to you all.
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Good evening.
Okay, thank you. So I have 10 minutes.
Please just go ahead and do your presentation. We'll listen to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Ochieng Fred, and I am a member of Den of Hope Youth Group. And we do a lot of tobacco control advocacy. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I know that the first speaker has spoken a lot about tobacco and all, but just I'll try and make this to be a bit conversational because he's mentioned quite a lot about the statistics and all, and I want us to go straight into how these people deal with the youths. So tobacco, as we all know, has been a major public health problem in Kenya. And up to date, companies have always been finding ways more and more in dealing with their new customers. And the new customers, that being the youth, they know that their current customers will die. For that reason, they start targeting the new market, which is the youth. Next slide, please. So what is tobacco? Well, in simple terms, it's just a plant that contains nicotine, which is highly addictive. It is grown, and from the pictures you can see there, that's how it's actually grown. You might think that these are just normal vegetables, but interestingly, this is something that no animal, not even a single animal, can dare try to come close to and eat it, except one being, which is the human being. So that's something that I want you to put at the back of your mind and to think deeply about it. Why is it that no animal can dare try to get close to it, and yet we, as human beings, get to use them? Next slide. So I did mention that tobacco is a plant and that it does have nicotine. So what is nicotine? Basically, it's just a toxic, colorless or yellowish oily liquid, which is the chief active constituent of tobacco. So this is something that is actually extracted from the tobacco, and it's a stimulant, which is actually often used in small doses. But if it's used in large amounts, it blocks the action of automatic nerve and skeletal muscle cell, which brings a number of health problems. Next slide, please. So in addition to cigarettes, because we know that tobacco products are often used in various ways, the most common being cigarettes, which has been used for quite a long time. But we do have a number of them that have been causing a lot of health issues to people, not only in Kenya, but globally. I know that the first presenter already showed a number of them, but let's just see these pictures and see if we can actually relate with them. Maybe a number of people here in this platform might have used it once or are currently using it or have seen people using it, but it's good because pictures do actually speak a lot. Next slide, the first one here being cigars. Next slide. This one, pipes. And this is one that has been used by people from way long ago, but it is something that currently we find that young people are also turning to. So we find that people in the rural settings, or probably the wealthy, are the ones who've been using it from time and again. But this time we find that people who do art and crafts, who make beads, these days, if you walk along the streets and you find them selling, they have this and they say that this is just for tobacco use so that it can help without any smell. So for them, it's just about sales. And this shows you how creative tobacco companies are getting to target people. And they know that people who really do like arts, music are young people. So they use different kind of methods. And so now they're introducing the pipes, only that they're making them to look more classy and more fancy. Next slide. Chewing tobacco. This has been used, and I saw in the other slide that we had something like this. The only difference is that right now they've used a way of packaging it in very nice tins that you might think that it's probably Pond's, which is used for makeup. So it's not easily detectable. And the kind of branding that they've been using to make this thing to really look nice is that they're using things which are quite colorful, that it really, really is catchy and attracts young people because they know that's what they're looking for. So bright colors, catchy logos, and they promote these products in music. So you find that popular music artists, they get to be sponsored by tobacco industries to show this in their music, to create. And they know that once they get to do such things, they create a positive image for their product. So is it a way of them trying to elude the normal advertisement? Yes. But ideally, this is their way of advertising it, knowing that that song is particularly for young people. Next slide. The nicotine pouch. So similar maybe to the cigarette chewing, but this one has been put in a way that you might just think are tea bags, and it's already been shown. And as you can see, even the image from the image there, the way that it's being consumed, it's something that once someone places it just on the jaw, it's something that someone cannot easily detect. So you find that someone just has it over there, gets high, socialize with people as if it's just a normal thing. So it's a way of them trying to avoid people noticing them using those products, and they won't feel that they're judged in any way. So a very, very creative way of making one substance to be used in various ways, and people can get to consume it in the way that they feel best, that they feel works the best for them. Next slide. So when you look at this picture, these two pictures, so the one on the top right, it shows you the electronic cigarettes, but they're in different shapes and sizes. So again, style, that's the thing that they know captures the attention of young people. So you have a wide variety of types of e-cigarettes that you have to choose from. So you look at which one works for you, which one would you consider to be pocket friendly. And as you can see, it's not just consumed by one gender, but by both. And the most consumers of electronic cigarettes are young people because they know that they're tech savvy. So for that reason, because they want to maintain a certain type of lifestyle or to be in a certain social group, they end up using electronic cigarettes with tobacco companies bringing in the myths or a narrative that electronic cigarettes are safer. So it doesn't leave a stench. You do not have to use matchboxes. You do not have to hide while you're actually using it. That the smell which actually comes out for it is it's just very nice. And it's something that you can walk in and out of any other place when people might just think that it can even just be as simple as a pen. Next slide. Shisha. This has been spoken about. I know this one you've seen. It's been banned in our countries, and yet time and again we keep on finding it in clubs. When people found that it was difficult to access this in clubs, people have even gone to the mile of purchasing it and using it in their houses. From these two pictures, you can see the way that it's been designed, craftily made. It's in different shapes, different sizes, very attractive. It's quite appealing. And if you just look at it, it seems to be attracting young people. Now, on the other side of the picture, you have a group of young people, both men and women, socializing. And most times that they do have this shisha, it's often used for people to socialize, whereby they keep on just passing the pipe from one person to the other. And in no time, people get addicted and they feel like they are a part of their peers. Next slide, please. So what are the health effects of nicotine, or rather just tobacco? Well, there's quite a number and it's been spoken about, but the most common is cancer. And we know when we talk about cancer, it's a number of cancer, with the most being lung cancer, throat cancer, and mouth cancer. All this is not just for one thing, because we know that the human body is very, very complex when it comes to each and every person, that these things affect us differently. So one might smoke and they get a lung cancer, but another might smoke and get throat cancer. But the truth is, by using tobacco products, it does have health effects in your entire body. So all your vital organs are affected in one way or the other. For example, we do have the heart disease. So tobacco use can even increase the risk of heart diseases, including heart attack and stroke. And this is not only just for the first-time smokers, but also for people who are even secondary smokers. It can even cause stroke. Things such as COPD, like chronic bronchitis and emphysema. And think about the non-communicable diseases which are emerging and is becoming a menace into a country. Tobacco is one of the leading factors to such things. And there's just a number of other health problems such as TB, kidney diseases, pneumonia, amongst others. Next slide. So we know that globally we are experiencing some economic crisis. But let me loop you in about the cost of using tobacco. One, we know that it's very, very costly, very, very costly, but the way that they do advertise them and the way that they make them to seem so flashy and trendy for young people, people forgo the issue of the cost, and for them, pleasure speaks it all. But think about the healthcare implications that come as a result of using tobacco and its related products. One of the things when it comes to healthcare, the cost of just treating people, In my previous slide, I mentioned about the health effects. Imagine treating lung cancer, and we know that cancer up to date still doesn't have a cure, but there have been some tremendous strides in the medical field to help to deal with that. But imagine the amount of money that will use and the financial burden that you will put on yourself, that you will put on your spouses, on your family members and friends in order to cure such diseases. Another thing is that it just causes lost productivity because as you keep on using them, you get addicted and eventually you become ill. It can lead to disability. We've seen people who've had their legs or arms amputated so as to save them because of maybe the cancer spreading. Sometimes it brings about things such as premature death because of overuse of tobacco products. Another thing is that it might lead to reduced economic growth. And we know what happens when we have such a thing, because people do not even become productive. And there's increased healthcare for a number of reasons. Another thing is that might get to do to reduce food production. One of the things is, if you look at the vast land in our country, probably in Migori, Homa Bay, where they do grow tobacco products. Imagine that vast land that they use to grow all these tobacco products. If it was converted and used to grow actual food for human beings, wouldn't we be resolving the food crisis? And that's why this year's theme, it was all about World No Tobacco Day. It was all about please grow food and not tobacco. Next slide. So what are the causes of tobacco and nicotine abuse among young people? Well, I do know that there is a number and it's been mentioned. Of course, we do have poverty. We do know the state of our country and the poverty level. So most people do turn to drugs and substance abuse, with tobacco and its related products being topping the list. And we know for people who do use tobacco, there is a very high possibility that they do use other forms of drugs, for example, alcohol, marijuana, be it things to do with cat, or rather mira. It's something that they keep on just abusing one drug to the other. The other thing is the high unemployment rate that we do have, not only in our country, but the entire sub-Saharan Africa. These high levels of unemployment among young people has caused people to resolve to what they deem to call stress management. And so they do turn to drugs and other forms of substance abuse. Again, with tobacco topping the list. The other thing, as I said, as young people, we keep on being influenced with a lot of peer pressure around us. So you find that there's a certain circle that you want to click with, but in order to be a part of them, you have to abide to what they do. One of them being using those kind of drugs. So someone just ends up using tobacco and its related products in order to befriend those people and feel like they're a part of something. Another thing that causes such things are family problems. So think about dysfunctional families where you do find the parents are very abusive, they're emotionally detached from the children, they keep on fighting each other every now and then, they themselves, they use all sorts of drugs. This mounts a lot of pressure on these young people, and in order to find a way to cope up with such things, they might end up using drugs. The other thing are mental health problems, and it's one thing that in our country, people have not been talking about, but I am glad that this discussion is now underway and a lot of people are talking about mental health problems, because such things lead to things like depression, anxiety. And when someone feels like they cannot handle things, so they look for drugs that can help them to be able to deal with their issues. So things like self-medication, and with tobacco being one of the things that they actually use to numb their pain. Next slide. So the effects of drug and substance abuse, with tobacco topping the list again, I know that a number have been mentioned. I've talked about the health implication from liver disease, heart diseases, and all sorts of cancer. And eventually we know that one, you start smoking, time again you become addicted. With this addiction, your body wants more and more, and then you do more and your body cannot take it, you overdose, and eventually the ultimate thing becomes death. The other thing is that we know that the use of tobacco and its product, it starts from somewhere. And this is mostly in high school, colleges, and universities where people do abuse such things. And this causes a lot of academic problems. So by using these kind of drugs, we know that drugs is anything when ingested, it does alter the way the mind works. So this leads to poor academic performance in schools. And studies have shown that a lot of young people who do resort to use things like tobacco and other forms of drugs tend to have a high rate of dropping out of school. This leads to other things such as even criminal activities, because they will try looking for a way to fund their usage of the drug, or probably this might cost them to just lead to other things like committing crimes, such as robbery and assaults. We also know that the more you keep on using these things, it might be a way of trying to distress, but in reality, it alters the way the mind thinks and eventually even the way you behave. So it starts bringing about psychological problems. So you end up having even more depression, you end up having anxiety, other people even become schizophrenic. This leads to bring about the resulting behavior, because in psychology, one of the things that we have is that we say that what you think results to how you feel and eventually how you behave. So you use these things, you become addicted, and the resulting behavior will become violence and some criminal tendencies. Drugs and substance abuse also lead to a variety of social problems where you find that someone can become socially isolated from other people. Others would lose friends, family members, because of their continuous use of the drugs. And so this cuts them off because they feel like they do not belong to that family, or they do not belong to a certain social group anymore. And of course, I talked about the economic implications which comes to it. Might lead to unemployment. You keep on using it at your workplace, they cannot take it anymore, and you get laid off, leading into poverty. And in order for you to keep on sponsoring your drug use, you end up into crime. Next slide. So we do say that in everything, prevention is often better than cure. Now, the good news is that there are preventative methods and there are ways to treat or just to manage the use of tobacco and nicotine abuse. One of the most important ways is education. It's one of the most powerful ways to help to deal with this crisis that you're facing. For example, we can have programs that helps to teach young people about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. This would be a very good starting point, because as we often say, samaki mkunje angali mbichi. So when we start when they're at a young age, or rather in English, they say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So as they're young, we can teach them quite a lot. There are also early interventions to help to treat. So the moment you realize that there's a problem, we intervene at that stage, because at that point, it can be treated before it leads to addiction. The other one is parental involvement. As I said, most youths who get to abuse drugs are those who come from dysfunctional families, but where we have parents who are emotionally connected to their children, when they get to talk to their children, it helps them to see the importance of not using these things. Next slide, please. There's a lot. There's treatment. There's a number of effective treatments which are available, and there are specialists that can actually do help with that. It's just a matter of looking at which place would actually work best for a certain kind of problem that someone is facing. There are also rehabilitative approaches towards that, because once someone is treated, and the reason why you find a lot failing is because once they're treated, they go and there are no rehabilitation programs out there to help them. And these rehabilitation programs are meant to integrate these people back into the society, back into their families, back to their friends, so that they can help to forge healthy relationships. Again, I said prevention, it's better than cure. So having programs that champion towards prevention of using tobacco and its related products would be good. Again, in Africa, we say that a child should be raised by the whole community, that a child belongs to the community. So it's the work of the community to ensure that that child has been raised. So community programs are very vital, keeping in mind that the majority of people in our country and globally are young people. And we also do have providing smoking cessation services, knowing that this war is quite difficult. This can be one of the, it's not something that I advocate for, but it's one of the methods that we can actually use to help to manage this menace. Next slide. The other one has been raising taxes on tobacco products, and Denofop Youth Group, in conjunction with our partners, Kenyan Tobacco Control Alliance, we've been able to champion for this, and this was actually made possible in our country. So we are actually very proud for this. The other one was for banning tobacco advertising and promotion. Again, Denofop Youth Group and Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance have been in the forefront in helping to champion for this. And lastly, creating smoke-free environments. This helps to protect our mothers, our children, and our women, including even young people, from the harmful effects of tobacco. Next slide. So let me conclude. So clearly we see that the use of this has quite a lot of health implications, economic implications, social implications in our lives, because most of this are preventable deaths. It brings diseases which are quite preventable. And it's not only costly to us, but to the entire country's economy. But there are a number of things that can be done to prevent, to treat, and to reduce tobacco use in our country. And I've mentioned quite a number, but again, increasing awareness on the health risk of tobacco, it's something that all of us are supposed to do, including putting young people in the forefront in order to champion for this, providing smoking cessation services, raising taxes on tobacco, and banning tobacco advertisement. Most importantly, is for us to also be very tactful, just as these tobacco-related companies are becoming tactful. I would like to stop there. Next slide so that I end. So thank you. Once again, my name is Oching Fred from Denofop Youth Group. Those are our contacts. Do have a lovely evening. Looking forward to your questions. Back to you, Dr. Werimo.
Thank you so much, Fred, for that very informative talk and helping us understand tobacco use from a youth's perspective and its dangerous effects among young people. So now we'll open the question and answer session. Similar questions have been grouped together. So we'll start with our first speaker, Mr. Muthemba. Mr. Muthemba, I will give you a number of questions to answer at a go. So these are the questions that have been asked by our audience. The first question is, there's a challenge with implementation of the shisha ban in Kenya. What measures are regulatory bodies putting in place to assess this and ensure compliance to the ban? And the second question is there any documented use of ends to help with cessation of cigarette smoking or using ends as nicotine replacement therapy? The next question is, are there more recent statistics on tobacco use among schoolgoers? And the final question for this first batch is there an association between chewed tobacco and seizures or convulsions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. once again. I missed on the last question. Kindly put it across again.
Sure. The last question is there an association between chewing tobacco and seizures or convulsions?
All right. Okay. That one has been noted. Okay, fine. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to take the first question, whereby it's about shisha. I know shisha has been quite controversial in this country following the ban, which took place way back in 2017, and the implementation, which we call now enforcement. When you look at tobacco control from a broader perspective, tobacco control is multi-sectoral, okay, which means that it entails various state and non-state agencies. And in this case, when you're talking about shisha, the only implementation of shisha is just enforcement. And in this case, the people who are tasked to do the enforcement, when you look at the Tobacco Control Act, the authorized officers are public health officers, and any other persons upon him the responsibility of maintaining law and order is vested upon them. So when you look at shisha enforcement, despite shisha being having banned in this country, we are facing challenges in enforcement. And shisha actually, to be candid, in the recent past, there's a re-normalization of shisha. It is like it is being consumed in every club, in every county in this country. Why so? When we look at enforcement, who is implementing the shisha ban? The people who are supposed to be implementing, we're talking about the county governments, we're talking about the national government, that is the Ngao. We're also talking about the NPS, National Police Service. We're talking about standards inspectors, that is at the ports of entry, and the customs officers. Because you'll ask yourself, how does this shisha first get into the country? It gets into the country through the porous borders, or maybe even through the gazetted ports of entries. So if we ring fence the enforcement at those entry points, we'll be able to control what is coming in. And if this supply chain has been cut at the port of entry, then we'll not be talking about the problem of shisha. Again, when you look at enforcement, I think having visited quite a number of counties in this country, having worked together with the NACADA and national government in a multi-agency on alcoholic drinks, beverages, and tobacco control, I think the only county that I've seen enforcing on shisha is Nairobi. In any other counties, it's business as usual. In Nairobi, as much as we are trying to do enforcement, there's a lot of hiccups. When we're talking about the hiccups, we're talking about political interference. We are talking about institutional complexities. So it's never smooth on enforcement. And this is not just shisha, this is even on other substances, narcotics, drugs, illicit liquor. I mean, if the enforcement is not approached multi-sectorally, then we'll always have this kind of problems. However, I would like to categorically say that Nairobi County, we are doing all that we are able to do. We conduct raids, we are conducting raids. I think the last raid that I did which was I think the other week on Friday, I was able to confiscate a number of, total number of 58 shisha bongs. These plus others that I have, I'm planning to do destruction, which will be calling on the media and other stakeholders, just to showcase that, yes, indeed, the shisha ban is still on and enforcement needs to be carried out. Ends and NRTs. Probably maybe you can just repeat what that listener wanted about ends and NRTs, Dr.
Sure. So the question was if ends can be used as a mode to end cigarette or to cease cigarette
Ah,
smoking.
ah,
Yeah, if they can be used as nicotine replacement therapy.
thank you, thank you, thank you. So, ENDS, electronic nicotine delivery systems, either way, ends with nicotine or ends non-nicotine, this cannot be used as NRTs. Because what we're talking about is that what is an NRT? An NRT is a non-nicotine nicotine replacement therapy that is given to somebody who is dependent on nicotine. And this is it is medicated and it is given in controlled portions. Okay, the controlled portions whereby it is normally administered in a downscale formula. Okay, but now when we're talking about the ends which have nicotine, you'll find that when somebody is using this nicotine, okay, the ends, they are actually being initiated, okay, or self-initiating themselves to using mainstream tobacco products, that is cigarettes. So ends, and there's a research that was carried out in South Africa that actually demonstrated that the use of ends or the use of electronic cigarette promoted dual usage of these products, whereby people who are smoking tried using the nicotine, the ends or the e-cigarettes, but they ended up using both the substances. So ends cannot be used as NRTs. They are not NRTs. Question number 3. If there's recent statistics among schoolgoers on the issues of tobacco use, I think the latest literature that I've come across is the Global Youth Survey, okay, that was conducted in 2013. So I've not come across any recent published literature. There could be, but it hasn't been published that I know of. Number 3, recent statistics, or rather number 4, the association between chewing tobacco and convulsions. So, what is convulsion? When you look at medically, when you look at convulsions, what are convulsions? What are the causes of convulsions? I think, and I stand to be corrected by the doctors in this forum. Convulsions are as a result of some trauma, okay, mostly brain damage or brain trauma. But when you look at chewing tobacco, when this tobacco is chewed, where does it go? It gets absorbed into the bloodstream, okay? So physiologically, I'm not saying if they could lead to convulsions. However, from stories that I've had and I think conversations on Twitter in terms of the use of nicotine pouches, I understand that nicotine pouches could lead to effects like nausea, disorientation, and those kind of things. But about convulsions, I'm not so sure. Maybe I think the doctors in the forum, you can help me with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muthemba, for covering those questions.
Dr.
Our next-
Erimo,
Yes, please.
apologies if I can help support the answer that he just gave on the last question.
Yes, please
Is
go ahead.
Yes, I do agree. It's interesting because just last week I was somewhere in a meeting with a team of other doctors who are actually talking about this. And yes, there is an association between chewing tobacco and seizures, tobacco and its related products and seizures. You see, nicotine, as he just explained, the addictive drug found in tobacco can increase the risks of seizures. This is because it increases the activity of the central nervous system, or the CNS as we often call it, which then makes seizures more likely. And this one, they relate it because there was a study which published in the journal Epilepsy and Behavior found that people who use smokeless tobacco, and that includes the chewing tobacco, they're more likely to have seizures than people who do not use smokeless tobacco. So that study also found that the more often someone uses smokeless tobacco, the higher their risk of having seizures. So if someone has epilepsy and actually smokes, so it actually even increases the chances of them actually doing it. So thank you, and back to you.
Oh, thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you so much, Fred, for offering insight on that. My set of questions is actually targeted to you. So the first question is, or it's a comment and a question. There is need for social behavioral change and communication targeting the youth in high school and universities to counteract tobacco marketing gimmicks. Are there any programs currently targeting the youth in educational institutions? That's the first question. The second question is, can you comment on snuff or chaves, inhaled tobacco? Is it still a popular product, and especially among the youth?
Okay, so two questions. About programs, well, there's not quite a number, but I'll speak about what I'm certain about. So what I'm certain about is that the Nofop Youth Group, apart from just going to schools, one of the things we do is that on a monthly basis, we are located in Isili, that is in Kamkunji sub-county. And one of the things that we always do is we create awareness. We often create awareness every now and then from time to time, we get opportunities to go to school. One that we went to was Jamhuri High School, amongst other ones. These programs are quite vital. But then again, getting these opportunities in school is not an easy thing, because there are certain institutions which think that when you actually do that, it's a way of actually encouraging them to get to that. But far from it, these are people actually using these things, including even those who are in boarding schools. So yes, there is, but not enough, because it is specific organizations which do that. So I know of us, together with Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance, who've been doing it from one point to the other, but for funding has always been an issue. So for Denofop, because of funding issues, we've actually been revolving around Kamkunji and its environment and environs, for example, Madari, because of its proximity to Isili. So we try to do that. In other regions, I'm really not certain, because the problem when it comes to health issues is that you find that most people wait for global action days, for example, Wild No Tobacco Day. It's just the other day that it was on TV that we got that opportunity and we got to speak about it. So it will take a bad event for this to actually happen, or to wait until next year when you're going to have another global day on tobacco, advocating against tobacco use. So I hope I've answered that. On to the second question. It was about snuff. I mean, it is, as I said, tobacco industries. One of the things that they do is that they go to a point whereby now they're tailor making products. So to them, they're looking at, how does this product talk to you? You see, youths are more susceptible to addiction because the brains of young people are still developing, and they're more likely to become addicted to nicotine than adults. So what do? They know that we are the ones who, young people, we are the ones who have a high rate of unemployment. So they become price sensitive, very price sensitive. And they ensure, because they know that we ourselves, we have disposable income, because a number of us do not have a lot of things to do. So they are more likely to be drawn to lower cost tobacco products. So something like snuff is something that is very classy, and young people like to be associated with classy things. So what do? They ensure that this thing becomes impressionable to young people. That's why snuff has become very popular. I mean, it's not spoken about. And I said, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy for people to actually detect. So then youths are more likely to be influenced by, the way that it's used, it's not easy advertisement and marketing. And now that we know that in our country, this is something that was banned, they use other avenues. For example, Dr. Mudemba just spoke about it. They would use social media. But the one that they often use, and unconsciously we don't think about it, is in the music industries and movies. So you find that the more likely a young person is to experiment with tobacco products is if they get to see their friends, again, back to the presentation because of peer pressure, or celebrities using them. So when they see this music video and people actually using it, then they tend to get to use that. And that is the tactic that they do use it. So yes, snuff is still popular. I do hope I've answered. Back to you, Dr. Irimo.
Thank you so much, Fred. I have two follow-up questions for you. One is a question and comment. Nicotine in tea is absorbed differently than nicotine in cigarettes and other inhaled tobacco products, making it less harmful and addictive. What are your comments on this? That's the first question. The second question is, are products like nicotine patches and nicotine gums acceptable nicotine replacement products?
So to the first question of nicotine in tea, well, in my presentation, I actually said that nicotine is highly addictive. So in small doses, it's something that can be manageable. In high doses, it kills you faster. So this is something that is found in tea. And for tea to actually be made legal and for use, they do use the right amount of dose that the human body can actually consume. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but that's the point. But then again, it also depends with the kind of brand that people actually use. I'm pretty sure that you've seen that there are people who cannot go a day without taking tea. So if they actually do not consume tea and they want tea, which has a lot of tea leaves that has been used and a specific kind of tea leaf. So if you make just any kind of tea, they're like, that wasn't good enough. And they have a headache the entire day or night until they actually consume tea. So once they do partake of tea, they are well and good. So can it be dangerous? Yes. Anything that is used in excess or consumed in excess is dangerous. On to the second question. Please repeat again the second question.
The second question was, are products like nicotine patches and gums acceptable as nicotine replacement therapy products?
Well, those are not acceptable. It's just a way of them being tactical and to make them to seem less harmless. For example, like the question that was asked there about seizures and tobacco products. I mean, this is just the same thing that has been made into different, it's just the same thing that it's being made differently. For example, when you have wheat flour, you can make just what we call the usual bread. You can make donuts, you can make Swiss rolls, but it's just the same thing. So no, it's not acceptable. And so they tailor make it in a way that speaks to certain consumers and particularly young people. So I hope that I've answered that.
Yes, thank you so much. Our last set of questions is directed to Dr. Muthemba. So they are mainly policy questions. So the first is there an official document on the ban of lift in the Kenyan market? That's the first question. The second question are all these emerging tobacco products covered under the current Tobacco Control Regulations Act? And the third question is about the sale of tobacco rolling paper in supermarkets. How can the sale of these products be stopped at points of sale in supermarkets?
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. I didn't get the second question, but I'll tackle the first one and the third one, then you'll refresh my memory on the second one. So the ban of lift, is there an official document on that? So I need to clarify that lift was never banned. in the Kenyan market. What happened is that the CS in charge of health at that particular time halted the sale of lift and revoked the licensing of lift under the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. Because what happened at that particular time is that lift was registered under Pharmacy and Poisons Board, okay, as a poison, okay. And when you look at the sale of poisons in the category that lift was registered, it can only be sold in a registered pharmacy and under prescription. Okay, so lift was never banned, it was only deregistered from the registration of Pharmacy and Poisons Board and moved, or rather registered as a tobacco product. It was listed as a tobacco product and hence subjected to the provisions of the Tobacco Control Act. Which are these provisions? Among the key provisions are in terms of packaging and labeling, whereby those products are supposed to have graphical health warnings, just like any other tobacco product. I hope that is well answered. Question number 3, the sale of rolling papers. When you look at the Tobacco Control Act and the definition of tobacco product, it says that a tobacco product is any product that composes in whole or in part of tobacco leaf or any extract of the tobacco leaf, okay? And this includes cigarette rolling papers and filters. So the rolling papers in supermarkets, they are basically tobacco products, which makes them subject to the provisions of the Tobacco Control Act, and which provisions, one, they should have the graphical health warning. So what, as a unit, what we've been doing as the Tobacco Control Unit, what we've been doing is ensuring that the rolling papers that are available in the Kenyan markets comply with section number 21 and part 2 of the Tobacco Control Regulations, sections 3(1) to 7, which specifies the type of the graphical health warnings to be put and the design and all that needs to be on a tobacco product. Question number 2, I missed on that.
The second question was, are these emerging tobacco products covered under the current tobacco control regulations?
These emerging tobacco products, we are having a challenge under the Tobacco Control Act. But essentially, yes, they are covered because the description, when we're looking at these emerging tobacco products, which have moved from the tobacco leaf to the tobacco extract, which is nicotine. And nicotine is very well covered under the Tobacco Control Act. So this product, yes, they are covered under the Tobacco Control Act. However, we have some gray areas, okay, when it comes to the number of the units. For example, good example, the rolling papers. Because the Tobacco Control Act says that the units, the cigarette units should not be sold less than 10, okay, 10 units. When you look at these rolling papers, the way they are packed, they'll be sold. Let's say somebody will buy a single pack, which has several of them. So there is a gray area, and that's why, as tobacco control advocates, we are calling for the revision of the existing Tobacco Control Act to even make it stricter, and not just making it stricter, even to ban some of these products. Look at the Tobacco Control Act of Uganda. So what the Ugandans did, basically took our act, they looked at it, they looked at the gray areas, they looked at the shortcomings, and they perfected it, which means they even banned these novel and emerging products. So, I mean, in Uganda, there are no nicotine pouches, there are no vapes. So we are moving from the space that we are in to making it even more stricter and banning some of these products. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have one final question that we'd like you to address for us. I'll direct this question to Fred. There are some countries like Norway that have stopped or prohibited the sale of tobacco products to people born after the year 2000. So hence protecting the youth from the harmful effects of tobacco. Is this something that you see could be done in Kenya in future? Is that an area that will possibly be explored?
Well, thank you for the question, and thank you for the person who actually asked it. I see Mike Bikagunda. This is something very interesting. Is it practicable? Yes, it is. Is it possible that we can actually make this? Yes, it is, but there's also the reality. Think about the economic crisis that we're facing right now and look at how the government generates revenue. So that is generally through taxes. Now I want you to imagine the amount of money that tobacco companies actually make yearly. It's billions of shillings. So the amount of tax that they do give to the government, let us not even talk about the shady things that they do in order to give them money to stay in business, is quite a lot. So yes, this is very possible, but it's going to be a process. And this process has to begin with me and you. And one of the things that we do as Den of Hope is that we've partnered with Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance to actually advocate for this. We've advocated for quite a lot. For example, advocating towards banning advertisement, the kind of from advertisement on TV and radios. Later tried to force it from newspaper, again, forcing, and we advocated towards them putting graphical images because we know that pictures speak a lot than words. So it's a process, but funding is an issue. And then again, you have to look at our country and then they try to compare it with the European countries. They are well and more advanced because they have the necessary resources to make this possible. And like for us, we actually do it voluntarily. And because things are quite difficult, we do not dedicate a lot of time towards it. Are we passionate about it? Yes, we are. Are we championing towards that? We are trying to do that, but we are also trying to be realistic as to what it is that we can actually do. So I'm really looking to a future where we can actually make this quite possible. It will be a plus not only to everybody in this country, but it is going to be a process. Thank you, and back to you, Dr. Wairimu.
Thank you so much. Mr. Muthemba, anything to add on that?
Okay, not exactly that. I'm just going through the questions on chat, and I'm sorry for taking you back. On the issue of tea leaves, nicotine, and nicotine that we get in tobacco plant. So you'll find that the nicotine in tobacco plant is highly addictive because of two major alkaloids that are present, and they are not present in any other vegetable that has nicotine, because we realize that there are various vegetables that contain nicotine. We have potatoes, tomatoes, the tea leaves themselves, okay, courgette, and those kind of vegetables. But the unique aspect of the nicotine from tobacco leaf is two major alkaloids called anabasine and anatabine. So when you take a sample of, let's say, nicotine, when you draw a sample of nicotine from a vape, from a certain e-liquid, you'll be looking for the presence of those two alkaloids. And those two alkaloids are very strong and highly addictive. So that's the major difference between the nicotine in tea leaves and tobacco leaf. Then we'll look at the rolling papers, okay? Actually, the rolling papers, the dynamics of the rolling papers, this is an issue that I've raised, and I've also raised with the Tobacco Control Board. And we are trying to call upon, we're trying to work with the anti-narcotics agency because you realize that when you go to these supermarkets, I don't know if someone else has noticed this thing. When you go to the supermarkets, you'll find the cigarette rolling papers in the supermarkets, in the pit stop, and any other convenience stores. However, as much as they're called cigarette rolling papers, they should be going together with the shredded tobacco. I don't know who has seen a store that has the rolling papers and the shredded tobacco. So basically what is happening with these rolling papers, they're being used to roll weed. So the presence of these rolling papers in the market is just promoting the use of narcotics and basically weed. And these rolling papers, we have a plain rolling papers. The rolling papers are made from rice. They're basically made from rice or hemp. But these rolling papers, we have modern ones which are also flavored. Okay. So what is happening is that if somebody rolls weed with this kind of paper, let's say which is chocolate flavored, it camouflages the weed aroma. So this person is able to puff this weed even in public in a very discreet way. So these rolling papers, I think we have earmarked them, and very soon we'll be doing something about them because they are not even used for making this cigarette. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to now, as we prepare to close the CME, I'd like to give our presenters just a minute each to give closing remarks. Fred, we could.
Should I go first?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. My closing remarks is that I would like to call upon the government and the county government to implement the existing tobacco control framework so that we have a uniform way of implementing the tobacco control law so that what is happening in Nairobi is happening in Mombasa, is happening in Nakuru, and any other county. Because out of experience, what I've realized is that a certain tobacco industry X, will start on various tactics outside Nairobi, testing the water. Then by the time they do as a pilot, then by the time they're doing it in Nairobi, actually it changes. They're doing it in Nairobi fully fledged, which is now like they have gone full bore. So if we are able to work together and have a uniform way of working, I think we'll be making more gains. Number two, I'd like also to call upon the government to look to take it seriously in terms of providing alternative economic and viable activities, not only to the tobacco growers, but also to the tobacco workers and also to the sellers, okay? Because I'm thinking if this bracket of people are offered with alternatives, then they'll be moving away from this product. And also we can even introduce, and this is something that, this is a component that was in the tobacco control bill of Nairobi City County. However, we rejected the bill because at some point it was mutilated. Is the aspect of licensing. I'm thinking when you look at products like alcohol and tobacco, these are products that are harmful. They have health effects. They have environmental effects, and they also have socioeconomic effects. And that's why these products attract the same tax. So this product and tobacco particularly, I think should be licensed, okay? So that if somebody wants to sell a tobacco product, they ought to pay for a certain specific license, just like a liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muthemba, for your closing remarks. I'll now invite Fred to give us a final word before we close. Okay, it seems we lost Fred, but I would like to take this opportunity to
You can't
really...
hear me, Dr.
Now we can hear you. Thank you.
My apologies. So again, as I was saying, mine is to first of all, thank you for doing the good work of moderating this session. To my fellow speaker for the great insights, I actually learned quite a lot. To the entire panelists, and most importantly to the attendees, and to my group, Deno for Youth group, for giving me this opportunity. So my final remark is, quitting smoking is hard, but it is one of the best things that you can do for your health, for your family, friends, generally your loved ones. And there is a lot that can be done to actually make this possible. Is it hard? Yes. Is it possible to achieve this? Yes. If you haven't started to use any tobacco product, any kind of drug, please do not. If you have, look for help. And from the slides, we saw that there are a lot of things that we can actually use to make this possible. Tell your friends and family that you're quitting. That is the social support you can get. Set a quit date. Get rid of all the things that you use that can spark any kind of these things, and find healthy ways to cope with stress, because drugs have never been their answer and will never be their answer. And most importantly, be patient with yourself and let us learn to love ourselves, because the moment we learn to love ourselves, then we will know how to learn those people who are around us, and tobacco will never be a menace that gets to us. So thank you so much, and back to you, Dr.
Thank you so much, Fred, for that powerful closing statement. I'd like to thank both of you so much for sharing with us today. We've all learned a lot, and I believe we've all been empowered to spread knowledge about the dangers of tobacco use, both traditional and the novel tobacco products. I'd like to thank KMA for organizing this webinar, and I'd also want to say a special thank you to our partners, Championing Evidence-Based Advocacy, that is CEBA, the Den of Hope Youth Group, and the International Institute for Legislative Affairs, that is ILA. You've supported us, and we really want to say a big thank you. And I also want to appreciate the audience. It's been a very engaging session, and thank you for your time and for your attention. We will try to make the recording available on our social media platforms. And if you want to learn more about KMA, you can visit our website at kma.co.ke. So the webinar has come to an end. I wish you all a lovely evening and a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.